Hey guys, Chris here, founder of Rooted Music. Guys, at Rooted, our goal is to help you learn to play the music that you love by coaching you on the why and not just the what. And we're going to do just that in today's tutorial. But before we do, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel here so you don't miss out on any of the new worship tutorials that we have for you. And I'd also love for you to check out the links in the description of this video where you can download our chord chart to this song for free, and also where you can learn more worship songs just like this for just $1 for the first 30 days. Check out those links and let's go ahead and dive into the video.
Hey everyone, this is JT with Rooted Music, here with you guys today for an advanced piano tutorial of the song Promises by Maverick City Music, and this song is from their album Maverick City Volume 3 Part 1, and by the end of this video today, you are going to know everything you need to know to play Promises. And I do want to give you a quick disclaimer on the front end. We are going to be going through the entire song today, all 10 minutes and 39 seconds of this recording. And so this video naturally is going to be a little bit longer than some of our other teaching videos, but that's okay. If you stay with us all the way through this video, you're going to know everything you need to know to play Promises. And this is a really great song, and I love just worshiping to this song and just reflecting on God being a God of His Word, and everything that He says, everything He commands, everything that He has spoken in His Word, in Scripture, is truth that we can cling to, whether in good seasons or bad. And so this is an incredible song to worship to. Maybe you've sung the song at your church, or you've just wanted to know how to play this so you can play it at home. We're excited to be a part of this journey with you as we're learning Promises. So before we dive into the song, there's a few things we got to look at here, and by looking at these things on the front end, it's going to naturally make learning the song so much easier. So we're going to start here with the key, and the key for Promises is B flat. So we're in B flat major, and we have two flats in the key. So we have B flat and E flat. Those are the two flats we have to know. And conveniently here in our chord chart and natural number chart, we have the notes of the scale listed right here. So let's go through the scale. Let's play through it. So we have B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and then we finish with B flat. And it's really important for us to know the notes of the scale because these notes are the building blocks of all the chords we're going to play in Promises. I would say 99% or even maybe 100% of the notes we're going to play in this song are going to be notes that we find here in this scale. There may be a time or two where in the sheet music we may pull a note from outside of this key in and use another note, but I would say 99% of the song of the notes in the song are going to be from this scale. So if you know the scale, then you're going to be at an advantage because you know all the notes that we're going to play in Promises. Now, if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the webpage where you're watching this video, you're going to see that we also not only have a chord chart attached, but we have a natural number chart PDF there attached to the bottom right corner there. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the scale again, but if you prefer to read this in natural numbers, we need to build that scale in natural numbers. So for natural numbers, all we do is we simply replace the letter names. We start with 1 and work our way up. So in numbers, B flat is 1, C is 2, D is 3, E flat is 4, F is 5, G is 6, A is 7, and then B flat, because it was 1 at the beginning, it's going to be 1 again at the end. So let's go through that scale in numbers one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And there we go. That was our B flat scale in Nashville numbers. So usually when we get to this point in the video, I usually scroll through the song and we find all of the unique individual chords that we need to know to play the song. But because this song is so long and there's so many pages in the chord chart, I already went ahead and did that for us to help save a little bit of time. And so we have 12 chords that you and I are going to need to know to play Promises today for this video. And that's a lot of chords. Most songs that we're playing, worship songs, have maybe 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that range. We have 12 today, so we have a lot of chords to go through. And we're going to build these chords out, show you the chords ahead of time, so that way when you're playing through the song, you already know how to play these chords, and that's going to make learning it so much easier. And as we continue on through this video, I'm going to be reading off the national number chart, but I'll be referring to both the letter and number names as we're going through, so it'll be clear regardless of which chord chart or number chart you're reading off of. Great, so let's go ahead and start, and we're going to work our way from B flat, the first note of the scale, and work our way up through the scale in chords. And when we're talking about chords, we're going to be playing triads if we're playing in the block chord style, meaning like we're just playing off of the chord chart and not focused on the actual note-for-note parts that we have in the sheet music. We will talk about that later on, but for right now, when I'm referring to playing in the block chord style, that's kind of what you would typically associate with playing piano on a worship stage. If you're just playing the chords, kind of like this, that's the block chord style. So we're going to be going through these chords, and when we're playing in the block chord style, generally we play triads in our right hand, and a triad simply is a chord made up of 3 notes. So let's go ahead and talk through how we build our triads. So every triad has 3 notes in it. The first one is the root, and we'll just start with B flat or our 1 chord to keep it simple here. So B flat is our root, and the root is the namesake of the chord. It is the foundation of the chord. We are building the rest of this chord off of the root. Then the middle note is called the third, and we call this the third because the distance from root to third is the interval of a third. So like from B flat to D, we know this is a third because there's 3 letters in our interval: B, flat, C, and D. Then the last note of our triad is the fifth, and in this case, this is going to be F for our B flat or our 1 chord, and we call it the fifth because the distance from root to this note is the distance of a fifth. So we have B flat, C, D, E flat, F, 5 letters there in our interval, and that's how we know it's a fifth. So let's review again. Every triad that we're going to play in Promises has a root, a third, and a fifth. And then generally when I'm playing in the block chord style, I add an octave of the root note in my left hand. Really just rounds out the sound, provides that nice low end. Especially if I'm playing in a setting by myself on piano, I want these bass notes covered. So I usually add an octave of the root note in my left hand. We will have a few chords where we're playing a 4th note or adding a 4th note, and we'll talk about that as we go through, but generally when we're building these chords, we're going to be playing those triads in the right hand with an octave of the root in the left hand. Alright, so now we've covered how we build these chords. Let's go ahead and actually build all 12 of these chords. The very first chord we need to know is our B flat or our 1 chord. We just did it, but we'll go through it again really quick. So for B flat or our 1 chord, I've got B flat's the root, D is the third, F is the fifth, add the left hand, there we go. Alright, so now we've talked about how we play our B flat or our 1 chord, how we build that chord. Let's talk about how we're going to invert this chord as we're playing it throughout the song. And inverting chords can be a little bit scary on the front end because we're switching the order of the notes around and maybe a little harder to see on the piano. But in the long run, inverting these chords is going to make playing this song so much easier, so much more efficient because we can keep our hands in the same spot on the piano the entire time instead of having to hop our hands around in root position. So let's talk about inverting chords really quick. We'll start with our B flat or our 1 chord since that's what we've been working with here. And we call this where we're playing B flat or the root of the chord on the bottom. We call this root position right here because the root or the namesake of the chord is on the bottom. But what happens if I take this B flat and put it up here? I could play B flat, D, F, just like that. This is still technically a 1 chord or a B flat chord because we have the same notes, we're just playing them in a different order now, and we call this first inversion because D, or the third of the chord in this case, is the lowest note we're playing in the right hand. So this is first inversion. Now I could take this D and move it up here and play B flat, D, F, where I have F, or the fifth of the chord, on the bottom here in the right hand, and this is what we call second inversion. So second inversion, we have the fifth on the bottom. Let's review that one more time. So we have root position, where the root's on the bottom in the right hand. We have first inversion, where the third of the chord is now the lowest note in the right hand, and then second inversion, the fifth of the chord is the lowest note in the right hand. All of these are B flat chords, all of these are 1 chords. Again, they're the same notes, we're just playing them in a different order. And so, by using inversions, we can help keep our hands in the similar spot on the piano, and that's really just is going to help us as we're playing through this song a ton. So from this point forward, as we're building these chords, I'm going to show you the chords in root position, just so you can get an idea and be able to visualize it in root position. Then I'm going to show you the inversions I'm going to be playing for the rest of this video. You don't have to play the inversions, but I do think they are very helpful, and I think in the long run it's going to make playing this song a lot easier. So let's go back to our B flat chord here, and we're going to play this one in second inversion. So we're going to move this F down an octave here. So we have B flat, D, F. And this is our B flat or 1 chord in second inversion. Good. The next chord we have to know is our B flat over D or our 1/3 chord, and this is a slash chord. And let's talk about slash chords really quickly. So here we see this in the chorus. We have a 1/3 chord or a B flat over D, and the slash chord can be a little confusing if you've never read one before, but we're going to teach you how to do that, and it's going to be easy from this point forward. Each one of these numbers or each one of these letters tells us something really important. So because I have a 1 or a B flat before the slash, that means I'm playing that in my right hand. So I'd have B flat, D, F, just like I had on my 1 chord in the right hand, but instead of playing B flat in the left hand, the 3 or the D that comes after the slash is telling me what I should play in my left hand instead. So instead of B flat here, I'm going to play D in my left hand, just like that. So B flat over D, got a B flat chord with a D in the left hand, or a 1 chord with the third note of the scale in the left hand. Just like that. Good, that's B flat over D. And now what we're gonna do here, we're gonna invert this one just like we did with our B flat or 1 chord. We're gonna move this F down, Play it just like that. So this is our B flat over D, or 1 over 3, also in second inversion. The next chord we have is a B flat major 7 over D, and this is just a variation of our B flat over D. So we're going to keep that B flat over D just like that. But what we're going to do is now we're going to add a fourth note to this chord, and we're going to add A, which is the 7th of this chord. Just like that. So if we built this in root position, my major 7th would be B flat's the root, D is the 3rd, F is the 5th, and then we have A as our major 7th right here. But like I mentioned earlier, we're going to take this F and this A and move them down an octave. So just like this. So I have B flat, D, F, and A right there over D, because that's our B flat major 7 over D, or our 1 major 7 over 3. We're also playing this in second inversion. Great. Next we have a B flat major 9 over D. So let's build the B flat major 9 in root position, and then I'll show you how we can invert it and play it over D, or over our 3rd note. So in B flat major 9, we have B flat's the root, D is the 3rd, F is the 5th, and then we could add a C up here for our 9th. So just like that. But this is a tough stretch for most piano players. I have average to smaller hands, and so for me, I can't quite reach that C up there and be able to play this whole chord. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this C and move it down an octave here. And so we could also call it a 2nd or a 9th, just depending on how you want to play it. Just like that. So we've got B flat, C, D, F, and we're going to invert this one as well by taking the F, moving it down here. So we've got B flat, C, D, F here. And then this is also over D. So just like this. So this is our B flat major 9 over D, or our 1 major 9 over 3, just like that. Very good. And we modified, we moved this C down an octave to help us be able to make it easier to play all 4 of those notes with one hand. Great. The next one we have is our B flat over F, or 1 over 5. So we're going to keep our B flat in second inversion here, but instead of playing B flat in the left hand or D in the left hand, we're going to play an F down here. So this is B flat over F, or 1 over 5. The next chord we have is our B flat major 7 over A. So we're going to do that B flat major 7, just like we did earlier. B flat's the root, D is the 3rd, F is the 5th, A is the 7th. We're going to flip the F and the A down an octave, just like this. Still B flat, D, F, A. But now instead of over 3 like we had previously, or over D, we're going to put it over A. So this is a kind of a harsh sounding chord, but we do use it in one spot in the song. So we have our B flat major 7 over A, or our 1 major 7 over 7. Just like that. Great. So those are the first 6 chords that we need to know. They're all related to the one chord, all variations of our one chord or B flat. There's a ton going on there, but you guys did great. Now we're going to move on to our 2 chord, which is going to be a C minor 7 chord. So let's go ahead and build this 2 chord. So we got C is the root, E flat's the 3rd, G is the 5th, and now because it's a minor 7th chord, we're going to add our 4th note, which is B flat to the top. Just like this. This is our 2 minor 7, or our C minor 7, just like this. And for this song, we're also going to be playing this in second inversion. So we're going to take the G and B flat and move them down an octave and play it down here like this. So C, E flat, G, B flat. Great. So this is our 2 minor 7, or our C minor 7. Next we have our 4 chord, which is E flat. Simple triad here. E flat's the root, G is the 3rd, B flat is the 5th. Just like that. And we're going to play this one in first inversion. So we're going to move the G and the B flat down. So E flat, G, and B. There we go. E flat, or our 4 chord in first inversion. Next we have F, or our 5 chord. So we got F is the root, A is the 3rd, C is the 5th. Just like that. And we're going to play this one in root position. So we're going to leave it right where it is. So now we've covered F. Let's go ahead and go to our F add 4 chord. It's going to be the same as our F that we previously played. We had F is the root, A is the 3rd, C is the 5th in root position, but we're going to add the 4th of the chord. In this case, it'd be B flat. And so we're going to play it just like this. Good, so we got F, A, B flat, and C. And there's going to be a little tension here. You can hear that A and B flat clash a little bit, but that's intentional here in this chord. It sounds when we have those other notes in, it kind of hides that tension where it's not quite as harsh, but we still hear that just a little bit. So there we go. So F's the root, A is the 3rd, C is the 5th, and we're going to add the 4th note right there. Great, so that's our F add 4, and we're going to play that in root position as well, just like we did our F there. So that was our F add 4, or a 5 add 4 chord. The next chord we have to know is F over A. So we're going to build that F triad just like we had. F's the root, A is the 3rd, C is the 5th. But instead of playing F in the left hand, we're going to play A in our left hand. We're going to keep this one in root position as well. So that was our F over A, or 5 over 7. And then the 12th and final chord that we need to know is our G minor 7. So we've got G is the root, B flat is the 3rd, D is the 5th, and because this is a 7th chord, we're going to add another note. We're going to add an F on top, just like that. Play our G down here in the left hand, and that is our G minor 7 chord, just like that. And we're going to keep this one in root position as well. So root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, just like that. So there we go. We went through all 12 chords. We talked about the inversions. There was a ton to cover there. So we're going to go through them one more time, but I'm not going to build the chords. I'm just going to play them, show you one more time how we play all 12 of these chords as we're going through. So let's review really quick. So now we have B flat, or our 1 chord. Then we have B flat over D, which is 1 over 3. And we have our B flat major 7 over D, which is 1 major 7 over 3. Then we have B flat major 9 over D, which is 1 major 9 over 3. Then we have our B flat over F, which is 1 over 5. We have a B flat major 7 over A, which is 1 major 7 over 7. Then we follow that up with our C minor 7, or our 2 minor 7 chord. Then we have E flat, or our 4 chord, F, or our 5 chord, F add 4, or our 5 add 4 chord. We have F over A, which is 5 over 7. And the last chord we need to know is our G minor 7, or 6 minor 7. So there we go. We had all 12 chords right there, and we got our way through that. And some of these chords we only see once or twice throughout the song. There's probably 6 or 7 that we regularly play. There's a few that just happen once or twice in a little instrumental or a certain section like that. But it's still good for you to know it, so that way when you're playing through it, you don't get caught off guard or you're not surprised by it. You know how to play those chords when you get there. So I really encourage, if that was tough for you, to rewind that, go back through, watch it again as we're building those chords. Just get familiar with them. Get familiar with maybe switching from one chord to the next and just kind of working your way through those. It's going to make learning this song a lot easier. Also, if that was totally foreign to you and you're not even sure really where to start with playing these chords, we have an informational video in our piano tutorial library all about the key of B flat, and it goes into so much more detail and depth that we could cover today in this video because we have so much to cover here. We want to make sure that we spend the most of our time here working on the song instead of the details. So in that video, it's about 25 minutes. You can watch it. You're going to learn everything you need to know about the key of B flat, why there's 2 flats in the key of B flat, how we know the differences between major and minor chords, how we build all of the chords that we generally see in the key of B flat. Talks about triads, the natural number system. There's so much more going on there than we could cover in this video. So we highly recommend that you check that video out. So if you need to pause this video, go check out that key of B flat video. We'll still be here when you come back, or if you want to just rewind and go through those chords again, highly recommend you do that as well if you were uncomfortable with any of that. Awesome, but now we've gotten through the chords. We've talked about really the key. We've talked about the scale. We've talked about all the chords we need to play. We've covered the harmonic elements of this song. Let's talk about the rhythmic elements of Promises. So the time signature for Promises is 6/8, and the time signature tells us 2 really important things. Each one of these numbers is super important. The first number tells us how many beats are in a measure. So in Promises, we have 6 there, so we have 6 beats per measure. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the second number tells us what kind of note is considered 1 beat. So every measure in Promises has 6 eighth notes worth of time in it. And the thing to remember about 6/8 is that this is a compound meter. So unlike 4/4 or 3/4, which are more common time signatures we probably play in, the eighth notes are divided 1 and 2 and 3 and in groups of 2. But as we go through Promises in 6/8 time, because it's a compound meter, it means our eighth notes are going to be put in groups of 3 instead of 2. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. So not 1 and 2 and, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you just remember groups of 3, 2 groups of 3 eighth notes, you're going to have this down. No issues there. And so when you heard me talking about measures just a second ago, as we're counting through, we got 6 eighth notes per measure. A measure is simply the way that we break down a really long song into smaller pieces, and that helps us keep track of where we are. So when we're counting through these measures, we simply count 1 through 6, and then that's the end of one measure, and then we go back 1 through 6 again. So you're going to hear me count a lot as we're going through the rest of this video. So just know that as we're going through these measures, it's kind of like how we break a really long book up into smaller chapters. So just a great rhythmic framework that we can use as a reference as we're going throughout the song. And the measures start at the beginning of the song and just smoothly go from one right into the next until we get to the end. So it's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over and over and over until we get to the end of the song. And this song actually has over 300 measures in this song. And that's why we need measures to help us know exactly where we are as we're going through. So great. So we've talked about our time signature. So now let's talk about the tempo really quick. We have 86 beats per minute, which means this song is going to be a little faster, but it's not too fast. 86 is kind of right in the middle. Not too fast, not too slow. The song does have a pretty good energy to it. 6/8 can seem faster than a 4/4 time, so 6/8 at 86 beats per minute is going to feel a little faster, but again, not super fast. We're not rushing through this, but certainly it's got a good driving energy to the song. All right, so now let's dive into the song order or the form or the outline of the song as it's sometimes called. We have a ton going on here. So we're going to explain how this goes. And this is really important for us to know this ahead of time because this is a really long song. There's a lot of movement throughout, a lot of different sections. We'll break it down and you'll learn all of it, but this is a good thing to come back to if you ever get lost in the song. So we're going to start here with our intro, go to verse 1. There's a pre-chorus, chorus 1, turnaround, which is kind of like the intro, but just in the middle of the song instead of at the beginning. We got verse 2, another pre-chorus, chorus 1 again, 2 interludes. We got 4 bridges in a row. Then there's a tag after the bridge, which is designated here with that little B there, bridge tag. And then chorus 1, 4 times through the bridge again, another bridge tag, chorus 2. Then after chorus 2, we have tag 1, tag 2 3 times here. These are different tags, and we'll talk about that. These are different than the ones we were using at the end of the bridge. And a tag is just simply a repeat of maybe the last line or last couple measures of a section without having to do the whole section again. It's just generally it's taking the last line of a section and repeating that. So we got tag 1, tag 2 3 times, then we have tag 3 after the end of this chorus 2 up here. Then we go back to chorus 1. We have 3 different 16 measure instrumentals here. And then we have chorus 2, tag 2, chorus 3, and end. And that is a mouthful right there. We have a long form, a ton going on here in this song. So we're going to be super clear. We have all the sections very clearly titled, and it's easy to follow, but this is our roadmap. There's a lot going on here, all 10 minutes and 39 seconds of this. So just follow through with us, and we'll make sure you don't get lost on the way through the song. Okay, great. So we've covered the key, the time signature, the tempo. We've covered the chords we need to know. We've talked about the song order or the form of the song. We're ready to start diving into the chord chart here. All right, so now that we're starting here in the chord chart, let's just talk briefly, if you've never read a chord chart before, how this happens here. So we're going to come down here in verse 1, and you're going to see the lyrics of verse 1, and you're going to see some either letters or numbers kind of lined up in specific sections over some of the words. And so what's happening here is these letters or numbers are the chord changes. Now, the chord chart doesn't tell us rhythmically how to play through the song. It just tells us when to change from one chord to the next. So we could just play the changes where we just play each chord change, or we could add kind of a rhythmic pattern to it to help it go through. So what I'm going to do is show you really quick these first 2 lines with the chord changes, show you how we read the chord chart. So I'm going to say the lyrics as I play it. So it'll sound like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant and faithful promises. So just like that, I just played the changes. And there's some sections of the song where maybe the band's not all in that you want to just play the changes. But there's other sections where you want to maybe drive that rhythmically. So I'm going to play that again and show you how I'm going to play on 1 and beat 4 of every measure to kind of help provide a little more rhythmic stability to the song. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant and faithful promises. So just like that. So you can see that I mixed up the rhythms. I played more chords throughout the same spot, but my chord changes were in the same spot. So as long as you're playing the chord changes with where they line up over the lyrics, that's the most important thing. You can add more notes in. Like I said, I was kind of doing that dotted quarter note pattern there. You can even do all 8th notes if you want, like God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant and faithful promises. So we see that later on in the bridges, especially as the band's building to these huge choruses. So I don't necessarily recommend you do that right off the bat. I would say either play the changes or maybe do the dotted quarter note pattern throughout. But again, you're going to, with whatever setting you are in, you're going to find what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So if you're by yourself, maybe just play the changes to start and then see how that feels. And then eventually you can kind of work in and build some more rhythmic diversity throughout the song. Great. Okay, so we've talked about how to play and kind of follow the chord changes in relationship to the lyrics. What do we do in a section like the intro where we don't have any lyrics to follow? And at Rooted in our chord charts, we've put this little system in, and it works really great to help you figure out how long to play each chord for. So you're going to see in the intro here, we've got a whole bunch of letters or numbers, depending on which chart you're reading. and they're all separated by some space. So each time we see a chord that has some space in between that and another chord, that simply means that we are playing each one of these chords for one measure. So here in our intro, we have a total of 8 measures. And so we can just count through this and play it like this. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. I just played the first 4 measures here of the intro. And so that's how we break down sections where we don't have lyrics. All right, great. So we've covered how to read the chord chart. We've covered how to play in instrumental sections as well as sections with lyrics. We're now officially ready to start working on the song. So we're going to start here in the intro. I kind of just went through it. I'm going to break it down, and we'll go through it really quickly again here. So we have 8 total measures. I'm going to play through it, and I'm going to count, and then we'll talk about it. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. So you can see we have our 6, 4, 1, 5 pattern, or G minor 7, E flat, B flat, F, and we play that one time through, and then it repeats again. So we have 8 total measures. We have these same 4 chords happening a total of 2 times there. Nothing too crazy happening, just some simple chords there. Each one of these gets 1 whole measure. So nothing too crazy. Let's move to the sheet music here, and let's look and see as we're looking through the sheet music here. And I do want to point out just a few things. Again, like I mentioned, I'm not going to play through a lot of the sheet music because you're going to see me play it at the end of this video. So one thing that's really cool to notice here about the sheet music is we have these chord changes listed above the measures where we have our chord changes, just like in the chord chart or number chart. These are the exact same chord changes. So that's a nice reference for you to kind of help you figure out where you're at as you're playing through the sheet music as well. And the other thing that's cool about it too is that these chord changes generally reflect what's going on here in the music. So it's kind of a little guide to help you say, okay, like this is my G minor 7. Even though I'm playing maybe some different voicings like this, I still know roughly this is going to be a G minor 7 chord. So we may not play every note, or we might add a few notes, but you kind of can get an understanding of this should somewhat reflect the chords that are listed in the chord changes there. So that's also helpful. So one thing I want to address just here in the intro as we're going through the sheet music, as well as rhythmically, some patterns that we see a ton throughout the song. So I want to address these very, very quickly here. The first one here is our dotted quarter note. So in typical 4/4 songs, we know that a dotted quarter note equals 1.5 beats, but we can take 1.5 beats and turn that into 3 eighth notes, because there's 2 eighth notes per 1 beat. Add a half, we got 3 total eighth notes. And so when we're playing in 6/8 time, our dotted quarter notes are going to be half of a measure, because 3 eighth notes plus 3 eighth notes equals 6 eighth notes. So when we're seeing these dotted quarter notes here, we're going to simply play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like that. So we can think of these as almost like the 6/8 version of half notes, or our dotted quarter notes. Then here, we're going to see in measure 5, we have dotted eighth notes. And dotted eighth notes can be a little bit confusing when it comes to being played in 6/8. So remember, a dot behind any note adds 1/2 of its value to it. So it's 1.5 times whatever comes in front of the dot. So a dotted eighth note is worth 3/16 notes, because an eighth note can be broken down into 2/16 notes. So we got 3/16 notes worth of time here and 3/16 notes worth of time here. And the best way to do that is we're basically splitting up 3 beats into 2 notes. And the best way, as we're counting through that, is to say and. So like here in measure 5, we're on beat 4 of 6 right here as we start. So we go 4 and, just like that. And it's going to feel a little weird, kind of like how triplets were fitting 3 notes in the space of where 2 usually fit. With these dotted eighth notes here in this song, we're kind of doing the inverse. We're putting 2 notes where 3 usually live. So if you say 4 and, or 1 and, or whatever, where those dotted eighth notes start, followed by and, that's going to be the best way to play that. So if I was playing this measure 5 right here with the G minor 7, I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how we do it. So it's almost kind of like counting straight eighth notes. It'll feel kind of like counting straight eighth notes when we are putting those 2 notes over 3 beats, but just remember 4 and, or 1 and, or whatever it is, and you'll be able to get through that. And we see that a ton throughout the song, so I wanted to address that at the beginning as well. Okay, great. So here in the intro, we just got some chords, got a few dotted eighth notes here. Nothing too crazy. Again, you can follow through in the playthrough at the end to see what's going on there. Let's go back to our chord chart and let's look at verse 1. And so I'm going to play through verse 1. I'm going to say the lyrics as we're breaking it down, and then we'll talk about it. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant and faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven you'll do just what you said. And there we go. So we have 8 total measures in verse 1, and these chords are the exact same chords that we played in the intro. We now are just adding words over the top. So let's go through it really quick. We have our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 right before the word God. And so you can see here that this chord doesn't really match up with a lyric. And what that simply means is we're going to play this one right before we start singing God of Abraham here. So got our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 here for a measure. Got our 4 chord E flat on Him for a measure there of Him of Abraham. And then we come down to our 1 chord B flat on Nint of covenant for a measure. 5 chord or F on the says of promises for a measure. Then we come back here and do the same thing again. Got our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 before we say time for a measure. Our 4 chord or E flat on again of again. Hold that for a measure. Then we have our 1 chord or B flat on then of proven for 1 measure. And then we have our 5 chord or F on said for a measure. And just to clarify, it does matter when we're playing these notes here and these chords here to put it on the right syllable of the word. So as you heard me say, like here in this line, time and time again. Time and time again. So on again I say it. If I played it on of again, it would sound weird. Time and time again. It'd be rushed just a little bit. So make sure that you're playing these chords over the right syllable of the words. If you were playing if you're playing those chords on not the first syllable of the word, we kind of make that pretty obvious with the hyphen there that helps you remember to play on the second syllable there. Great. All right, so we've played through that in verse 1 there. So let's look at the sheet music now for verse 1. And this is going to look pretty similar to what we had in the intro. So nothing too different here. We don't have some of those dotted eighth notes here, just pretty basic chords. We got those dotted quarter notes, which remember equals 3 eighth notes. So we're good to keep going through verse 1. All right, so now let's look at the pre-chorus. So here we are in the pre-chorus, and it starts down here kind of at the bottom of page 1, and then we come back up here to the top. So I'm going to play through it and say the lyrics, and then we'll break it down. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast and let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Just like that. That's how we play the pre-chorus. And one thing that's really cool about the pre-chorus is that just like the intro and just like verse 1, it's the exact same chord progression over and over. We got our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7, then our 4 chord or E flat, or 1 chord or B flat, 5 chord to F, and then it goes through it again. So it's basically played the exact same way. The rhythms are the same. The chords are the same. The only thing that changes between verse 1 and the pre-chorus are the words. The melody's a little different, but in regards to the lyrics and melody, that's the only thing that's different. In regards to the kind of the framework and the chord structure of that section, they're the same. So for the sake of time, we'll kind of finish up there and call that good. Let's look at the pre-chorus here in the sheet music. And again, we have basic chords here. We do have a section where we have some dotted eighth notes here, so just make note of that as you're going through, but nothing too crazy there. So here we are now in the chorus. I'm going to play through it, say the lyrics, and then we'll break it down. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Down here and finish right here. Great is your faithfulness to me. All right, and there we go. That was the chorus. So you can see here the chorus is a little longer than the verses in the pre-chorus. We have a total of 16 measures here, and we have a couple new chord progressions as we're working through the song. So we start with our G minor 7, which we had previously, or our 6 minor 7 on Great, and we're going to play that for 1 measure. Then we have our 1 over 3 or B flat over D on faithfulness for a full measure. Then we have our 4 chord or E flat on the ness of faithfulness for a full measure. And then we finish with our 1 chord or B flat on me for a full measure. And we repeat that first line. It's the exact same thing here on that second line or that second group of 4 measures. Then we come down here from the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. It's the same chord progression. So we have our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 on rising for a measure, our 1/3 or B flat over D on setting for a measure, our 4 chord or E flat on praise for a measure, and then our 1 chord or B flat on name for a measure. So that's our third group of 4 measures there. And then the last line here is going to be the same as the first 2 lines were as well. So really it's not too advanced. Really it's just kind of a new chord progression, but fairly simple. So we made it through chorus 1 without too much hassle there. So let's look over to the sheet music and see what's going on here. And at this point of the song, the band's really dropped out. Really, this is a piano-driven song anyways. There's not a whole lot of instrumentation around it. It's just like bass guitar, organ, and drums, and I think maybe 1 acoustic guitar, and that's it. So this is a very piano-driven song, and piano is really kind of the main instrument that you hear on the recording. So here, it's just kind of piano playing some light chords in the background. Nothing too crazy. We do have a couple of the dotted eighth notes here. We do have some more melodic features here in the right hand, which you can see that in the playthrough at the end of this video. And then we have a grace note here. Just want to point out what a grace note is. It's kind of just a quick little hit of a note as you're going into the next note here. So something like this. That's what a grace note is. It's used more in like a jazz or blues settings, but it really adds some character to the song, and it's pretty cool. So we have a couple spots where we have grace notes here throughout. But that's why this note's a lot smaller than these. It's just indicating that we're playing it just as a really quick kind of transition into the main note here to follow. And we have another grace note right here as well. And then that is the end of chorus 1. So we've got 16 total measures. And again, our chords are listed above. That really helps us keep track of where we are. Great, so we've finished through chorus 1. Let's go ahead now and look at the turnaround. Here we are now in the turnaround, and as we're looking on the chord chart here, we're going to see this is the exact same chord progression as the intro. Like I said earlier, the turnaround is really just kind of like the intro chords again, but not at the beginning of the song, kind of in the middle there. That's the best way to describe what a turnaround is, and so for the sake of time, we're going to skip over this in the block chord style from the chord chart because we've already played this. We already know it from playing the intro. Let's look in the sheet music and just make sure we don't have anything totally new jumping out at us here, which we don't really. It's a little different than what we played maybe in the very beginning of the song, but overall it's similar. So nothing too crazy here. So for the sake of time, we will continue to move on from that. And now let's come to verse 2. All right, and one thing that's really cool about verse 2 is it plays the exact same way as verse 1. A lot of worship songs have this, and it's really great as we're learning the song because once we know how to play verse 1, we can play verse 2, and that's the case here as well. The only thing that changes is that we have different words, but everything else is the same. So for the sake of time, we're going to skip over verse 2 in the block chord style. If you have any questions on that, you can rewind and check out how we played verse 1 here in the block chord style. We still have 8 total measures in verse 2. So again, nothing too different there. But let's come here to the sheet music and see we do have a few more melodic elements here. So just be aware of this. We have like a dotted eighth note followed by 3/16 here. The double bar on these notes indicate 16th notes. So those go pretty quick, but again, you can follow through that there in the playthrough at the end of this video. So there we go, verse 2, nothing too crazy, just a few more melodic notes. There's some beautiful spots where the piano really does shine, and I would say this is definitely an advanced piano song. The piano player on this record here is doing some really cool stuff, some advanced stuff in some sections. So just be prepared for that, and definitely I would say these measures that have a more melodic element to them, feel free to practice those on their own, really get that down. It really does add a lot to the song. So, but with that being said, it does take a little extra time and a little more practice to get that down. So let's go now on to the pre-chorus because we've covered everything we need to know in verse 2. Here we are in the pre-chorus, and this pre-chorus is the exact same as the first time we played through the pre-chorus. So again, for the sake of time, we can skip over this because the chords are the same, the rhythms are the same. We don't have anything new here. We even have the same lyrics, which is helpful too. So everything is good to go there. Let's just check in the sheet music. Now here in the sheet music, we do have something pretty different here. So I do want to slow down and just explain this for a quick moment. So here, as we're finishing the 4th measure, going into the 5th and 6th measure, you hear this on the recording. There's a beautiful octave pattern where they play. Just like that. It's a beautiful octave pattern. These are those syncopated, those eighth notes we're talking about, those dotted eighth notes. So remember, as we're playing through this, we just count 1 and 4 and, as we have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going on underneath it. We're putting 2 notes in the space where 3 beats go. If you just count 1 and 4 and, you'll get that right every time. I would say if this is too advanced to hop those octaves around like that, you could simply just play one of the notes, kind of like this. And that could also work as well if maybe you can't reach that octave, or sometimes jumping octaves pretty quickly like that can be a little tough, especially if you have smaller hands. So maybe you can just pick one of those notes and play there, but that's how we go through it. If you want to see more on that, you can check that out in the playthrough at the end of this video. Okay, so now we've covered that part in the sheet music in the pre-chorus. Let's go ahead and go back to chorus 1. We're back here in the chord chart here, and what's awesome about chorus 1 is this plays exactly the same way, at least when we're playing the block chord style, that the first time through chorus 1 played. So for the sake of time, we can skip over that. 16 measures, same chords, same rhythms, same lyrics, so everything is good to go there. Let's look at chorus 1 the second time we played through it here in the sheet music and see if we have anything going on here, which we have, I would say, generally similar to what we had in the first time. We do have a 16th note run here in this 8th measure with the octaves, and like I mentioned earlier with the octaves, if that's really tough to play, maybe just because your hands are smaller and just hopping octaves really quick is generally tougher on the piano, maybe just play one of these notes here. So instead of doing both, you could do something like this, instead of hopping those octaves up. Again, you can reference the playthrough at the end to see how I play through that. But there we go. Nothing too crazy here in that second time through chorus 1. So we'll keep going on now. And next, we're going to get to the interlude, which is really going to kind of transition us to the bridge part of the song. So let's look here at the interlude. So here we go. We've got new chords here in the interlude. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through this first time here through it, and I'm going to count through it, and then I'll show you how we break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we go. So as you can see, we have 8 total measures here in the interlude. We have our 4 chord for a measure, or E flat. We have our 1 chord of B flat for a measure, our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 for a measure. Then we have our 5 add 4 or F add 4 for a measure. Then we have our 4 chord or E flat for a measure, our 1 over 3 or B flat over D for a measure, our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 for a measure. And we have our 5 add 4 or F add 4 for a measure again. So 8 total measures, similar chord progressions. The only difference here is instead of going to the 1 chord here, we go to our 1 over 3 here in the 6th measure. So 4, 1, 6, 5, 4, 1 over 3, 6, 5, just like that. Or E flat, B flat, G minor 7, F add 4, E flat, B flat over D, G minor 7, and F add 4. Now let's look in the sheet music, see what we have going on here in the interlude. Again, this is a pretty advanced song. This section is really a section where the piano can really shine here because it's a transition from the chorus to the bridge. And so this is an instrumental here. And again, we have these dotted 8th notes here, so be aware of that. We have a couple sections where we have a dotted 8th note followed by an 8th note and a 16th. This is a little advanced. You got the same thing kind of happening here. Just count your way through that really, really slowly if you have to. Again, refer to the playthrough at the end of this video where you can see how I do it. And know that as you're going through this, you don't have to play note for note exactly the way they do on the recording. It's like I said, it's a pretty advanced piano part, but as long as you can maybe get kind of the general idea of what's going on here, if you have to skip a note or two from time to time, if it's just too much or too fast, that's totally fine. Give yourself grace there. You can always practice and work your way up to it. So great. So that was the first time through the interlude. Let's go ahead and go back to our chord chart and see what we have next. And we have another repeat of the same interlude. So the exact same chords, the exact same measures, rhythms, everything's the same. Let's go back to the sheet music and see the second time through. We're going to see it's just a little bit different melodically, but the same, roughly the same chord structure. Left hand's pretty much playing the exact same thing both times there. So that's helpful. Right hand's got a few different things going, but generally speaking, it's pretty much the same. So here we are at the bridge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through this, say the lyrics, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Just like that. So that was the first time through the bridge. And we have 8 total measures here in the bridge, and this is going to play the exact same way that the interlude did previously when it comes to the chord progression and the rhythms. Just kind of like how verse 1 was the same as the intro, and all we did was add words to it. It's going to be the same thing here with the bridge. The bridge, chords, and rhythms are going to be the exact same as the interlude. We've just now added words over the top. So pretty simple. Let's just go through it really quickly. We have our 4 chord or E flat on put for a measure, our 1 chord or B flat on Jesus for a measure, our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 on anchor for a measure. Then we have our 5 add 4 or F add 4 on ground for a measure. Then we have our 4 chord or E flat on hope for a measure, 1 over 3 or B flat over D on dation of foundation for a measure. We have our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 on never for a measure. And then we have our 5 add 4 or F add 4 for a measure on the word down. And there we go. That was one time through the bridge. Let's look here in the sheet music. Again, nothing super crazy here. Just remember we got those dotted eighth notes. Got another pattern here. We got a dotted eighth note followed by a 16th and a regular eighth note, which can be a little advanced, but like I said, refer to the playthrough and you'll figure out how to do that. And that's pretty much it. Everything is kind of stuff that we've seen already. Nothing, again, learning this is going to be different than maybe what you've previously played, but rhythmically there's nothing new that we haven't seen to this point in regards to new concepts or new major rhythmic elements throughout this section. So now we've determined that all 4 of those bridges play the exact same way in the block chord style. Let's just review kind of bridges 2, 3, and 4 and make sure in the sheet music and make sure we don't have anything super new or super confusing that we need to address here. And as we go through, we have bridge 1. We've already talked about that. The second time through the bridge, it's going to be similar. We have these tied notes here. Just want to point out that when we have tied notes, we add those note values together. And tied notes are effective because they generally are used when we don't have specific symbols that equal the amount of time we need it held for. So here we have a quarter note tied to a 16th note, which is equal to 2.5 beats in 6/8 time, because remember an eighth note is considered 1 beat. So we got 2 eighth notes here in this quarter note, and then a 16th is a half of a beat. So that's why we tie these together. So just wanted to explain that. Here in the third time through the bridge, we have a really interesting triplet feel here. We made a note here to play this as a triplet. It was pretty complex in regards to getting those rhythms to line up exactly. So the best way we found to write this out is to just say triplet feel here. So you're playing this, and when we're playing in a triplet feel, as long as we just say the words triplet, triplet, we're going to make it work. So here we play this note, and then here is where the triplet feel starts. So we go triplet, triplet, just like that. So the triplet feel starts here on these and then leads us through here. So we got triplet, triplet. I'll play it one more time. So it's triplet, triplet. And it kind of goes over into the next measure as well. You'll see that in the playthrough. This is one of the harder measures in the entire song to play if you're trying to play the note-for-note piano part. But just be aware of that as we're going through that there. Practice it. Take it slow. You'll hear it in the playthrough. It's pretty evident. But this is definitely one of the tougher measures for sure. All right, so let's keep scrolling down here. And then as we finish this third time through the bridge, we have this really beautiful octave pattern here. You can see that being played in the playthrough at the end. But this is a really beautiful melodic part in this third time through the bridge. And then the final time through the bridge, this is where the band's really building back in. We're building up to that huge chorus again. And so here we're playing a lot of eighth note, just kind of eighth note to rhythmically help build this song. So as you can see here, we have like this note. Just like that. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the rest of it is all eighth notes here. So as you can kind of see, it's like this. Just like that as we're building through the bridge. So you're going to want to build in volume as well as the times that you're playing there. So we're just going to play every eighth note moving forward. Then we come to the tag, which will now flip back to the chord chart and talk about the tag at the end of the bridge. And the tag is a total of 3 measures. So we have on the tag, what they're just repeating is "He'll never let me down," that last line of the bridge, one time before we get to the chorus. So I'm going to go through it here in the chord chart, and then we'll break it down. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll never let me down. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. So we say vamp a measure here, and what the vamp simply means is you're going to kind of just stay on whatever chord you're playing on as a way to kind of wait for the rest of the band and the song to transition. So we have one extra measure here, and so just to be aware, we've got a measure here of our 4 chord E flat on never for a measure, got our 1 chord or B flat on down for a measure, and then we're going to vamp 1 extra measure, just simply meaning you're going to stay on B flat and play an extra measure there. So we have 3 total measures in the tag. Got this melodic line where we're moving down and we play 1 and 4 and, just like I talked about earlier, how we play our dotted eighth notes, then building back into 2 measures of B flat, 6 eighth notes of our B flat chord per measure. Just like that. So pretty simple. The tag, nothing too crazy going on. Just remember we got 2 measures of B flat before we transition back to the chorus. All right, so now let's go back to the chorus, and we're going to find ourselves now in chorus 1 again, and this is going to play the exact same way that the first time through chorus 1 and the second time through chorus 1 plays. So for the sake of time, we can skip over that in the block chord style from the chord chart because we've already covered that. Let's look here at the sheet music, and we're going to see we got big chords here, kind of playing those dotted quarter note style, just where we're breaking the measure down into 2 main beats 1 and 4 here, like 1, 4, beat 1, 4, we play there. Nothing too crazy going on here. So it's just a general chorus. We've got 16 total measures, same chord progressions, same everything. So we'll move on from that. So here we finished that chorus. We're back in the bridge, and we're going to go through the bridge 4 times again. So it's kind of crazy how we just did 4 times through the bridge. We did the tag. We had the huge chorus. Now we're going to come back to the bridge, and this bridge is going to be a little softer, a little more subdued, a little more mellow than what we were just doing, and we're going to build it back up again. So we're going to play through the bridge 4 more times. But the thing that's cool about this is we already know how to play through the bridge, right? So for the sake of time, we can skip over this because it's the exact same chords, exact same rhythms, exact same lyrics. So in the chord chart, we'll skip over those 4 times through the bridge. Even the tag is the same. The bridge tag is the same lyrics, same rhythms. We have that extra B flat measure on the end of it as well. So we're going to skip over all of that in the chord chart. Let's go through the sheet music really quick and just make sure we don't have anything super crazy going on here in these next 4 bridges and the tag. So like I mentioned, the band's a little more subdued and quiet, and we're going to build this back up here, especially in that 4th bridge and tag. So here, nothing too crazy in that first bridge. Second bridge, we have another really beautiful melodic octave run here, where it's alternating between 8th notes and 16th. So just be aware of that as you're going through. It sounds great, but it does go pretty quickly. You'll see that in the playthrough. 3rd time through the bridge, we have this measure here that's a little tough as well. You'll see that in the playthrough. Got some 16ths and some 8th notes kind of alternating here with some tied notes. If you want to play this one, look to it in the playthrough at the end. 4th time through the bridge, this is where we're building back up again. We got that 8th note pattern going where we're playing all 6 8th notes per measure. And the same thing happens, this is the end of bridge 4, and the same thing happens here in that tag as well, and building us into another huge chorus. So we've gone through that in the sheet music. Now we're on to chorus 2. We're going to see something a little different here in this next chorus, so let's talk about it. Okay, so here we are in chorus 2, and we're going to find that chorus 2 is very similar to chorus 1, except we don't have the last line of "Great is your faithfulness to me." We don't have that on the end, and we actually kind of move to a different section here. But chorus 2 plays very similarly to chorus 1. Again, we just don't have the last 4 measures there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play through chorus 2. I'm going to say the lyrics, break it down, and then we'll move on to the sheet music. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. And technically right there, that's the end of chorus 2, because what happens after chorus 2 is we're going to tag from the rising sun to the setting same, that group of 4 measures right here. We're going to tag that like 5 times in a row before we finish out the chorus. So the best way to kind of delineate that for us as we're helping you guys learn the song is we just said, chorus 2, it's the same as chorus 1. We just chopped off the final line. The last 4 measures aren't there because we go to the tag instead. So 12 total measures. It plays the exact same way that chorus 1 did, just without the last line. Now let's go to the sheet music and see what's going on in chorus 2. It's pretty similar to what we've played previously in the other choruses, really just playing those big chords on beat 1 and 4 of all these measures. We have a few little melodic sections here working through those 8 measures. Then in the part when it goes to from the rising sun to the setting same, we're kind of going back to that building 8th note pattern there. And again, through these tag sections we're about to talk about, that 8th note build just really, really builds and grows there. And so now let's go back to the tag sections in the chord chart. We're going to play through all these because we have a lot happening here with all of these tags, and they can be a little confusing, so we're going to break that down and explain it. So let's go back to the chord chart, And let's look at tag 1. So we say the same lyrics for each one of these tags, but the chords behind are a little different as we go through. So tag 1, I'm going to play through it, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. So here, this tag is 4 measures. We have a measure of G minor 7 or a 6 minor 7 chord on rising for a measure. Then we have our 5/7 or F over A on setting for a measure. Then we go to our 4 chord or E flat on praise for a measure. Then we have our 1/3 or B flat over D on name for a measure. So that's tag 1, and we call it tag 1 because that's the first time we go through it. Now remember, the numbers of these tags after that chorus 2 don't reflect which time we go through it. It's like which chord progression we go through it. So we kind of differentiated that based on chord progressions, not the number of times going through it. So tag 1 here, we go through it 1 time. And the second time here in the tag, we're at tag 2, and this is a different chord progression. So I'm going to play this one here for you really quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, from the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. So as you can see, we've got different chords, right? We started with the 6 minor 7 or G minor 7, but then instead of the 5/7, we go to the 1/3. And we have a common 4 chord, but a 1/3 and a 1 here. So this is actually going to reflect the chord progression we see up here previously in chorus 2. So just want to clarify that. We've got a 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 on rising for a measure, 1/3 or B flat over D on setting for a measure, our 4 chord or E flat on praise for a measure, and then our 1 chord or B flat on name for a measure. So that was the second of 5 times through the tag. And now as you can see, the next time we go through the tag, we're going to stay with tag 2, meaning we're playing the same chord progression. Lyrics are the same, rhythms are the same, chord progressions are the same. Then we come down here to the 4th time of 5 times through that tag, and we're in tag 2 again, so we play that again. So remember, tag 2 meaning our second chord progression that we see here for the 3rd time in a row. So we play tag 1 once, tag 2, tag 2, tag 2. Then the last one we have is tag 3, and we have a different chord progression here, and also now the singers, the background choir is still singing from the rising sun to the setting same, but the 2 main featured singers on this are now singing I Still Bless You over and over. So let's go through this tag 3 really quick. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I still bless you, I still bless you, I still bless you, and then we go back into the chorus there. So tag 3 is a little different. We have our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 for a measure, 1/3, B flat over D for a measure. Then we go to our 2 minor 7 or C minor 7 for a measure. And then we go back to our 1/3 or B flat over D there. So remember, we got 5 times where we tag from the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name, after we go through chorus 2. First one is chord progression 1 or tag 1, followed by tag 2, tag 2, tag 2, and then up here we have tag 3. And so this can be a spot where you can easily find yourself lost and wondering, where am I, what's going on in the music? But if you follow through with the way that we've set it up, 100% of the time you're going to get through it and be exactly where you need to be. So let's look at the tags in the sheet music, talk about them really quick, and see if there's anything important we need to discuss. We got our 8th note pattern, because this is really building here throughout that. So tag 1, no issues here. Tag 2, we have a melodic figure here where they're playing, I'll just play through it really quick. It sounds like this. So we got 16th notes followed by a dotted 8th note, 3/16 a dotted 8th note. Again, refer to the playthrough. You can see that in context of how we transition to that. Got a lot of dotted 8th notes through here. Just remember that 1 and 4 and as we're going over that, and you'll do great. Same thing the second time through tag 2. Got these 16th note runs here again. So this is a little more melodic here in that spot. The 3rd time through tag 2, pretty much chords again. Tag 3, we're really kind of starting to build those big chords, but now we're kind of transitioning down to the end of tag 3, we're going to start transitioning down to a more subdued chorus here. Great, and there we go. So we've made it through all of the tags after that chorus 2, which was a lot there, so way to go on hanging in on that. And let's move back now to the next section, which is a repeat of chorus 1. So for the sake of time, we already know how to play chorus 1. This is the full chorus with that last line on it. Unlike chorus 2, where they didn't have the last "Great is your faithfulness to me" on it, this one does, and that's how we differentiate between chorus 1 and chorus 2. So nothing too crazy here. We've seen this before, so we'll move on to the sheet music, and let's just check really quickly and see. This is another subdued chorus, so we don't have a ton going on. We got some dotted half notes, just some dotted quarter notes, pretty simple as we're going through chorus 1 here before we go to the instrumental. All right, so now we've gone through this subdued chorus, and now we're going to get to the instrumental part of the song, which is really the spontaneous section of the song, kind of the ad-lib part where there's just these instrumentals going on in the background, and the lead singers are kind of just spontaneously singing and worshiping and kind of ad-libbing over these. So this is an important part to really talk about because it's easy in these sections to get lost in the song. So we're going to approach this more from a rhythmic standpoint without focusing as much on what they're saying. Sometimes in some chord charts you'll see the spontaneous sections written into the lyrics of the song, but in this case it's going to be easier to follow, to focus on treating these more like instrumentals than trying to follow all of the spontaneous singing and ad-libbing the singers do as they're going through. So we're going to break this into 3 instrumental sections. Each one of these has 16 measures. We'll play through it, and there's some differences in these, and this is where a lot of those major 7 and major 9 chords we built at the beginning of this video, that's where a lot of these come in. So here we are in instrumental number 1. We have 16 total measures. I'm going to play through this and just kind of show you the differences between them. There's some subtle differences, and then we'll check it out in the sheet music. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's the second line. Third line. And the last line. Just like that. And there we go. So that was all 16 measures here of instrumental 1. Each one of these chord changes gets a measure, and you can kind of look through and see a pattern. We start each group of 4 measures with our G minor 7 or 6 minor 7. We have our 1 major 7 over 3, or our B flat major 7 over D for the first 3. Then we go to the 1 major 9 over 3, or B flat major 9 over 3. So just remember, our B flat major 7 over 3's got the 7 here. And then for the 9, we take this A and flip it to a C. Just like that. That's the only difference between those. We have a 4 chord or E flat each one of these times, and we have a 1 over 3, 1 over 5, 1 over 3. So again, if we treat this like an instrumental instead of really trying to focus on matching these up with the lyrics, it makes playing this a lot easier. So that was instrumental 1. Let's look and see in instrumental 1 in the sheet music if we have anything going on that's new or different than what we've previously seen in the sheet music. So nothing too crazy here. Just really playing these chords. This is a part where the band's really like more subdued, laid back a little bit. Eventually they'll build back up to the huge final chorus, but for now this is a more mellow part of this instrumental spontaneous section here. Going through, everything's pretty normal here. We've got a little more melodic section here. This is actually a really beautiful part too that you'll hear in the playthrough. Really actually have a lot of fun playing through that. And there we go. Nothing too crazy there. So let's go to instrumental section number 2 now. All right, so I'm going to just play through this first line here of instrumental 2 so you can see how it plays because it plays 4 times in a row. So I'll just show you one time. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we go. So like I mentioned, we got that 6 minor 7 or G minor 7, our 1 major 7 over 3 or B flat major 7 over D, 4 chord or E flat, and then 1 chord or B flat. Each one of these gets a measure, and you play through that 4 times in a row, and that's in that section, again, where the 2 main singers are still kind of ad-libbing and singing spontaneously over the top. You're starting to feel that build a little bit. The choirs may start to be kind of helping out and singing a little bit underneath, but it's still that slow build through the spontaneous section there. All right, let's come on down to instrumental section 3. And now this is where the band's really starting to build back in. The choir's coming in now. They're still ad-libbing and singing over the top. And we're going to see similar things here as what we did up here. The only difference is here, so in this last line, we have a 1 major 7 over 7. Excuse me, not the last line, sorry, the second to last line here, a 1 major 7 over 7, so the 1 major 7 over 3, but everything else here is the same as this. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to play through this third line of instrumental 3 because these first 2 and last one play exactly the same as instrumental 2. So here's the third line of instrumental 3 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we go. That was it. So we now know how to play through all 3 instrumentals, each one being 16 measures long as the spontaneous section of the song is occurring. throughout the block chord style here in the chord chart. And like I've said a couple times already, it's so much easier to focus on this from a rhythmic perspective and figuring out how many measures I'm playing and kind of treating it like an instrumental than trying to match up the chord changes with what's being said there. So now let's go ahead and look at the sheet music and let's see what's going on in the sheet music for the instrumental sections here. All right, so here we are in instrumental 2. And we've already previously talked about instrumental 1, going through all of this here. So now we're coming down to instrumental 2. We still have our chord changes listed here, which is super helpful for us. We have one left-hand run here, a lot of 16th notes here. So one thing, if you want to simplify this a little bit, I would play this first E flat down here and then hop up to the G here and kind of pass over these two 16th notes in the middle there. That can make that a little easier there. Nothing else too crazy or too new that we haven't seen to this point. So we'll keep scrolling down, have another nice little melodic section here of octaves, which sounds great, kind of as we're starting to wrap up instrumental 2. So here we are in instrumental 3. Let's just check through that. We still have a lot of the dotted eighth notes here. We have our, just remember that rhythm 1 and 4 and, as we're going over the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'll be able to play those great. Have a few little melodic eighth notes here, kind of at the end of each one of these lines. And then we're really starting to see this build back in like we did the other times when we're building through the bridge and things like that, where we have these eighth note patterns in both hands really driving this rhythmically, building in energy, building in volume, building in intensity as we're getting ready for that final huge chorus as we come to the end of instrumental 3. So now we've covered instrumental 1, 2, and 3. Let's go ahead now and go to chorus 2, the final huge chorus of this song, and then we'll kind of start wrapping the song up here. So here we are in chorus 2, and this chorus is the exact same as chorus 2 the first time, meaning we chopped off the last 4 measures or the last line of this song. So we still have the Great Is Your Faithfulness 2 times here for the first 8 measures of chorus 2. Then we have the From the Rising Sun to the Setting Same, I'll Praise Your Name, that section there. And that's the end of chorus 2 because we cut the last line off because now they're going to repeat one of the tags there. So this plays exactly the same that we've previously seen already when we cut off the last line to put a tag in. Let's just look at it in the sheet music. Make sure there's nothing super crazy, super new here. Nothing too different, too new. Everything's fairly similar. All right, so now we're just finishing that chorus 2, that huge chorus. We're going to go into 2 tag sections of tag 2 here. So let's go ahead and look up here at the chord chart and let's follow through. We have the same thing that we saw previously in tag 2, except we've now have this instead of 1/3, we have a 1 major 9/3. So it plays the exact same way, but instead of playing this chord for your 1/3, you're now going to play this. So you're just adding that C right there. But everything else plays the exact same way as tag 2 did the first time we went through it when we had those 5 tags in a row on the From the Rising Sun to the Setting Same, I'll Praise Your Name, that part. So we are going to tag that twice there. Same chord, same everything here. We got the 1 major 9 and the 1 major 9 there as well. So now let's go to the sheet music and see how these tags look in the sheet music. Now if we look at the first tag here, we have an alternating 8th, 16th melody here, and this is one of the most beautiful parts of the whole song. This is probably my favorite part to play in the entire song in this first of those 2 tags here. And I also want to point out at this point in the song, the band is no longer playing at 86 beats per minute. It's kind of becoming more of a kind of a free time in essence, where we aren't sticking to that strict time signature. The band's starting to slow down. In classical terms, we call that a retardando at the end of the song, where we start to slow down until we get to the end. And so that's starting here in the first time through tag 2. So if you're playing to a metronome at 86 beats per minute, at this point you're going to start feeling that it's not lining up anymore. So just wanted to point that out. We're going to start to slow down, but this is, again, just a super beautiful section. You can check out the playthrough to see how that sounds. Then we're coming through here, tag 2 the second time. It's pretty much just chords at this point, playing on the dotted quarter notes here. Then we get down to the final chorus, and let's come back to the chord chart, for this final chorus 3. And we really just designate this as chorus 3 because there wasn't really another way to call it anything else. I didn't know exactly what to call it. So we just called it chorus 3 here. But what this is just a final line playing Great Is Your Faithfulness to Me. We do have an extra chord here, that 2 minor 7 or that C minor 7. So I'll go ahead and play this one time through so you can see how this works. Here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great is your faithfulness to me. Just like that. And when we get to that 1 chord here on Me, this is the end. We can hold that out a little longer as the recording starts to fade out. All right, so let's talk how we count through this really quick. We have our 6 minor 7 or G minor 7 for a measure. We have our 1 major 7 over 3 or B flat major 7 over D for a measure on Faithful. Then we have our 4 chord or E flat on Ness, and we're holding that for 3 beats. The 4th beat of that measure is our 2 minor 7 or C minor 7 on 2, and then we finish with our 1 chord or B flat on Me for that final, technically we call it the final measure, but you can hold it longer as the recording comes to an end and fades out there. Great, so that's how we get to the end of chorus 3. Now let's look here in the sheet music really quick. And again, it's just pretty simple. The band is still slowing down, and we finish with just this kind of nice simple chord here at the end. You can decrease in volume too as you're playing through this. We're going to slow down, play a little softer, just come to that nice ending just right there, just like that. And there we go. We've made it all the way through this song, all 10 minutes and 39 seconds of this song, and you guys did amazing. I know there was so much information we covered, but you hung in there. We made it to the end of the song. And what's beautiful about this video is if there was a section that you struggled with, a section that you want to hear over again, you just simply got to rewind, find that section, and play through it again. So you can definitely use this video as a resource more than just one time watching through, but feel free to come back to this video over and over, watch those sections over and over until you get it right. So we are so excited you're learning how to play this song. Like I said earlier, this song is an incredible song. It's just a great reminder of who God is and that his words and promises for us never fail. We can trust in him completely through the great times, through the tough times. He is a trustworthy God, and that makes him so worthy of all of our worship. A couple pieces of information really quick, and then I'm about to play through this. You can see how all of the note-for-note piano part lines up with the recording. Below this video, we have a comment box. This is a long video, a complicated song. We would love for you to ask questions if you have questions. Please leave us a question. There's no such thing as a silly question. If you don't know the answer, you simply don't know. So let us know. We want to help you. That's why we're here. Also, if you're watching this video, you're playing the song, everything made sense, and you're crushing it, let us know. We'd love to hear that positive feedback as well. And like I said, I'm about to play through this, and you'll be able to see how the note-for-note piano part in the sheet music lines up with the recording. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. You hung in there. You did it. Congratulations. Thanks for watching. We hope you have a great day.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us today in this tutorial. I hope you really enjoyed it and learned a lot through it. Make sure to subscribe to our channel here so you don't miss any of the new tutorials we have coming up. And make sure to check out those links in the description of this video so you don't miss out on the chord chart and you don't miss out on more and more worship song coaching for just $1 for the first 30 days. Check out those links, and we'll see you soon.